Vanessa! Her voice shrank around the name. He turned, irritation flashing. My boss's daughter. You've met her. Stop sounding insecure. Insecure. She swallowed. Colonel, you don't talk to me anymore. You don't ask about the baby. You come home smelling like another woman, and I should just. And you, he snapped, stepping closer. You used to be fun. Now you just cry and complain. 7 months pregnant doesn't mean 7 months of punishment for me. Tears burned her eyes. I left my job for you. I left my mother's house. He smiled without warmth. Maybe that was your mistake. Hey, Bestie. You know how life in Africa can be, full of drama, love, and unexpected turns. Today's story is one of those that will make you laugh, think, and maybe even tear up a little. So grab your tea, get comfortable, please leave us a comment in the comment section, as we would love to know where you are watching from, and let your bestie tell you a story. Before the marble floors and Lucky Gate, there had been a tiny room in Java where love felt enough. Back then, Chioma and Colonel shared everything. One mattress on the floor, one pot of soup, one dream. He would hold her from behind while she stirred the pot and whisper, "One day, we'll leave all this and live like kings." She believed him. She believed God had sent her a man with fire in his eyes and promise in his hands. But somewhere between one day and now, Colonel changed. The quiet in their Lucky sitting room that night was loud enough to choke her. The only sounds were the ticking wall clock and rain tapping the windows like restless fingers. Chioma sat on the couch, one hand on her 7-month belly, the other on the cold plate of jollof she'd warmed twice already. The generator hummed outside. The food had gone soggy. Her heart had gone tired. Colonel's phone had been off for hours. She told herself stories to stay calm. Maybe Third Mainland Bridge was blocked. Maybe his boss kept him late. Maybe. But the perfume on his shirts lately didn't smell like office air freshener. It was thick, sweet, and expensive. It clung to him, even when he pretended not to notice her sniffing his collar. When she finally heard his car horn at the gate, her heart jumped, then sank. The front door flew open. Colonel walked in without greeting, suit jacket already half off, eyes glued to his phone. He dropped the jacket on the floor, as if the house were just a hotel he didn't pay for. "You're home late again," Chioma said softly, pushing herself up. "I kept your food. Let me warm it." "I already ate," he cut in, not glancing at her. Her chest tightened. "You already ate." "Vanessa brought food," he said, kicking off his shoes. "Don't start." "Vanessa!" Her voice shrank around the name. He turned, irritation flashing. "My boss's daughter. You've met her. Stop sounding insecure." Insecure. She swallowed. "Colonel, you don't talk to me anymore. You don't ask about the baby. You come home smelling like another woman, and I should just. And you," he snapped, stepping closer. "You used to be fun. Now you just cry and complain. 7 months pregnant doesn't mean 7 months of punishment for me." Tears burned her eyes. "I left my job for you. I left my mother's house. He smiled without warmth. "Maybe that was your mistake." A sharp knock hit the door. He smirked. Perfect timing. He opened it. Vanessa stepped in like she owned the air. Wine-colored dress, glossy wig, red lips. "Hi, babe," she said, kissing him lightly. She glanced around. "So this is where you used to stay. Cute. A bit small, though." Chioma's world tilted. "Colonel, what is she doing here?" "Vanessa's moving in," he said calmly. Her ears rang. "What?" "You heard him," Vanessa replied. "I'm tired of hiding." "Colonel," Chioma whispered, voice breaking. "Tell her to leave. This is my home." He looked at her like a stranger. "No. You leave." Rain thundered outside as something inside Chioma cracked. "You're throwing me out at night? In this rain? With your child?" "Not my problem," he said. "You'll cope. You always do." She grabbed her small hospital bag with shaking hands. At the door she whispered, "If I walk out now, there is no coming back." He raised his glass. "That's the idea." The cold rain slapped her face as she stepped outside. Behind her, the door slammed. Rice splashed into the mud beside her, Vanessa's mocking gift. Chioma wrapped an arm around her belly and walked into the storm, not knowing if she was heading toward rescue or the end. Rain poured down in sheets, drumming against rooftops and echoing through the empty Lecky Street. Chioma's clothes clung to her skin. Her slippers were long gone, swallowed by the muddy road. Each step was heavier than the last. She didn't know where she was going. Her phone had died minutes ago. Her tears mixed with the rain until she couldn't tell them apart. Her belly ached, sharp, tightening pain that made her stop, grip the streetlight pole, and whisper, "Please, baby, not tonight." Lightning flashed. The wind howled. The gate behind her was silent now, Connell's laughter already fading into memory. Then she heard it, the hum of an engine approaching slowly. Headlights cut through the storm. For a moment, she froze, terrified it was Connell coming to throw more words like knives. But the car stopped a few meters ahead. Its engine idled. A door opened. A tall man stepped out, holding a black umbrella. His white shirt glowed faintly under the streetlight, rain splashing around his polished shoes. He walked toward her, his pace unhurried but sure. "Hey," he said softly, his voice deep but gentle. "Are you okay?" Chioma blinked at him through the blur of rain. "I'm fine," she lied, her lips trembling. He shook his head slightly. "You don't look fine. You're shivering." "I'll be fine," she whispered again, hugging her belly. "You shouldn't be out here like this," he said, glancing at her stomach. "Come on, you need to get out of the rain." She stepped back. "I don't even know you." He paused, nodding once, respectful. "That's fair. My name is Dapo Lawson. I'm not here to hurt you. I just can't drive past a woman in the middle of a storm." She hesitated. The wind cut colder through her soaked gown. Her legs shook beneath her. "You're pregnant," he said quietly. "Please, let me help." Her eyes searched his face, the sincerity there, the calm. He didn't look like a threat. He looked like peace wearing a wet shirt. Finally, she nodded weakly. "Okay. Easy now," he said, stepping closer to shelter her under the umbrella. "Watch your step." The warmth of his voice alone steadied her. He opened the passenger door. "Here." Chioma slid into the seat, gasping as heat from the car vents touched her frozen hands. Dapo handed her a clean towel from the back seat. "Here. You're shaking." "Thank you," she whispered, clutching it close. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be a burden." "You're not a burden," he said simply, turning the car around. "Everyone needs help sometimes." As the SUV rolled through the rain-soaked streets, Chioma stared out at the blurred lights of Lagos. For the first time in hours, she wasn't walking toward nothing. And beside her sat a stranger who didn't feel like one. The city blurred past the car windows, neon lights, reflections, and puddles swallowing the streets. Chioma pressed the towel to her chest, shivering less now but still too cold to think. Dapo drove in silence, his hand steady on the wheel, his eyes fixed ahead. The hum of the engine filled the quiet between them. After a while, he spoke softly. "You want to tell me where we're going?" She hesitated. "I don't know," she admitted. "My husband threw me out. He said he doesn't need me anymore." Dapo's jaw tightened. "He threw you out? Like this?" She nodded, voice breaking. "He said I was worthless without him. He said the baby was a mistake." For a moment, the only sound was rain on the roof. "He's wrong," Dapo said quietly, his tone firm but gentle. Chioma blinked at him through tears. "You don't even know me." "I don't have to," he replied. "Nobody deserves to be treated like that." Her throat burned as she tried not to cry again. "I can't go to my mother," she whispered. "He told her I ran away with another man. She won't believe me." Dapo sighed deeply, anger flickering beneath his calm voice. "That's wickedness. Some people destroy everything they touch." "He wasn't always like that," Chioma murmured. "He used to pray with me, laugh with me. We planned our future." "Money changes people," Dapo said softly. "Sometimes it shows who they really are." She gave a weak laugh that ended in a sob. "Then maybe I was blind." He glanced at her, his eyes kind. "No. You loved him. That's not blindness. That's trust. The wrong person doesn't make your love a mistake." The words hit her harder than she expected. She turned away, pressing the towel to her mouth as tears spilled quietly. Dapo said nothing more. Instead, he reached into the back seat and pulled out a soft blanket. Without a word, he draped it over her shoulders. When the warmth sank in, she whispered, "Thank you." I don't even know where you're taking me. He smiled faintly. Somewhere warm. Somewhere safe. The SUV turned into a quiet street lined with trees. The rain softened to a drizzle. Ahead stood a large, calm-looking mansion with golden lights glowing through its windows. She frowned. Is this the hotel? No, Depo said. It's my home. Her eyes widened. I can't stay here. You can, he said gently. Just for tonight. Something about his tone, steady, sincere, made her believe him. For the first time that night, Chioma let herself breathe. When the SUV stopped, Chioma hesitated, clutching the blanket like armor. The tall gates opened slowly, revealing a quiet compound bathed in golden light. No noise, no shouting, no chaos, only the soft patter of rain and the hum of a generator. This is your house, she asked weakly as Depo stepped out to open her door. Yes, he replied simply. And tonight it's your shelter. She shook her head, still uncertain. I don't want to impose. You're not imposing, he said, holding the umbrella over her. Come. The warmth hit her as soon as they stepped into the foyer. The floor gleamed. The air smelled faintly of coffee and something floral. A woman in her 50s appeared from the hallway, wearing a neat gray uniform and a motherly expression. Sir, welcome, she said, bowing slightly. Her eyes widened when she noticed Chioma. Ah, this poor girl is soaked to the bone. She needs a warm bath, dry clothes, and a room for the night, Depo said gently. Please, Auntie Beezy. The woman nodded immediately. Come, my dear. You're safe here. Safe. The word struck something deep in Chioma. She followed Auntie Beezy upstairs, her legs trembling with exhaustion. Minutes later, she was standing in a guest room that felt like another world. Soft beige curtains, clean sheets, a steaming mug of tea waiting on the nightstand. She changed into a loose cotton gown, the kind that smelled of fresh laundry. For the first time in hours, she didn't feel the cold, or the sting of Cunnel's laughter echoing in her mind. When Auntie Beezy left, Chioma sat on the edge of the bed, one hand resting on her belly. The baby moved softly beneath her palm. She exhaled a shaky breath. We're okay, she whispered. At least for tonight. A gentle knock came on the door. Come in, she said softly. Depo stepped in, holding a mug of steaming tea. You should drink something warm, he said, his voice low but steady. You didn't have to do all this, she murmured. I know, he replied, his gaze kind. But I wanted to. She took the cup, warmth spreading through her fingers. Thank you. He leaned on the doorframe. Try to sleep. You're safe here. When he left, the silence was soft, almost kind. Chioma lay down, the room glowing faintly from the bedside lamp. Her last thought before sleep found her was simple and strange. Why did the kindness of a stranger feel more real than the love she'd fought for? The rain had quieted, but Chioma's heartbeat hadn't. Even as her body relaxed under the soft blanket, her mind ran wild, replaying Cunnel's words, his laughter, Vanessa's smirk. Every breath she took still carried the taste of humiliation. She sat up on the bed, staring at the cup of tea she hadn't finished. Her reflection stared back from the dark window, eyes swollen, hair clinging to her face, the faint curve of her belly visible under the thin nightgown. A part of her still expected Cunnel to call, to apologize, to beg. But her phone lay on the nightstand, silent, cracked, dead. When the knock came again, she jumped. Chioma! Depo's voice, low and careful. Yes, she managed. He stepped in quietly, no jacket this time, just a plain white shirt rolled to the elbows. I wanted to check if you need anything. She shook her head. You've done enough already. I can't repay you. He gave a small smile. I didn't ask for repayment. Silence stretched between them, soft and awkward. Finally, she said, Why are you helping me? You don't even know me. His expression shifted, calm but thoughtful. Because someone should have. No one deserves to be alone in a storm. The words hit her deeper than she expected. For the first time in months, someone wasn't asking her what she could give, but what she needed. Rest, he said gently. You're safe here. That's all that matters tonight. She nodded, tears stinging her eyes again. Thank you. He turned to leave, but paused. If you need anything, Auntie Beezy is right across the hall. Don't be afraid to ask. When the door closed, Chioma lay back down. The bed felt impossibly soft after weeks of sleeping tense, ready for shouting. Her hand rested on her belly. The baby kicked faintly. She smiled through the ache. "We're safe, my love," she whispered. "God sent someone." She didn't know when she drifted into sleep, but it wasn't deep for long. Pain woke her. Sharp, stabbing pain that cut through her abdomen. She gasped, clutching her stomach. "Oh God, please, not now." The pain came again, stronger. Her cry brought Auntie Beezy running. "Chioma! What is it?" "It's the baby," she managed, breath short. "Something's wrong." Within seconds, the house erupted in motion. "Sir!" Auntie Beezy shouted. "It's happening." Dapo appeared instantly, barefoot, panic flashing in his calm eyes. "Call the doctor," he ordered. "Get the car ready now." As he lifted her into his arms, rain began again outside. And just like before, the storm returned, but this time, it came with a chance at life. The sound of rain pounded harder as Dapo carried Chioma through the front doors. Her breaths came in short, desperate gasps. "Hold on," he said, voice steady but trembling beneath the calm. "Just breathe, Chioma. We're almost there." The driver opened the SUV door, rain splashing across the marble steps. Dapo laid her gently in the back seat, covering her legs with a blanket as Auntie Beezy climbed in beside her. The tires screeched against the wet road as they sped through Akoi. Streetlights blurred past. Chioma's fingers dug into the seat. Her cries grew louder, more broken. "Please," she whispered between gasps. "Don't let anything happen to my baby." "You'll both be fine," Dapo said, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. "Just stay with me." Thunder cracked. Water gushed across the streets. He pressed harder on the accelerator, his heart racing faster than the rain. When they reached St. Jude's Hospital in Victoria Island, nurses rushed out with umbrellas and stretchers. "Pregnant woman. Severe pain. 7 months." Dapo shouted as he jumped out. "Bring her in," the nurse yelled back. They wheeled Chioma through the double doors. Dapo followed until a nurse held up her hand. "Sir, you'll have to wait outside." "I'm not leaving her." "Please," the nurse said firmly, "let us do our job." The door swung shut, and suddenly the hallway was too quiet. Dapo stood frozen, his shirt soaked through, his breath shaky. Every second felt like a lifetime. Rainwater dripped from his hair onto the white tiles. The smell of antiseptic filled the air. He paced. Saturday. Stood again. Looked toward the door every time a nurse walked by. When the doctor finally emerged, Dapo's heart leapt to his throat. "She lost a lot of blood," the doctor said softly, removing his gloves. "The baby's in distress. We're doing everything we can." Dapo swallowed hard. "Can I see her?" "Not yet." "Please wait." He nodded, his hands trembling. Minutes bled into hours. The rain outside eased to a drizzle. The clock ticked past midnight. When the nurse finally came back with a faint smile, Dapo's knees almost gave out. "She made it," she said. "Both of them did." He exhaled shakily, a tear slipping down his cheek. "Can I see her now?" he whispered. The nurse nodded. "She's asking for you." And for the first time that night, the storm finally began to fade. Not outside, but inside his heart. The world returned in fragments. Beeping, whispers, the faint chill of air conditioning. Then came the pain, deep and heavy, stretching through every part of her body. Chioma opened her eyes slowly. White ceiling, white sheets, a slow rhythmic hum. For a moment, she didn't remember where she was. Then it all came back. The ride through the storm, the flashing lights, the fear. Her lips parted. "My baby." A nurse appeared beside her, smiling softly. "Shula, you're safe. And so is your baby." Tears flooded Chioma's eyes instantly. "He's alive." "Yes, Ma," the nurse said gently. "A bit early, but strong. You both scared us, but God was merciful." Chioma covered her face, sobbing softly into her palms. "Thank you, Jesus." When the nurse left, the door opened quietly. Dapo stepped in, his shirt wrinkled and sleeves rolled, eyes red with exhaustion. He looked out of place in the sterile room, too warm, too real. "You're awake," he said softly. Chioma blinked up at him. "You stayed. You think I'd leave?" He smiled faintly. "I told you you'd be fine." Her throat tightened. You didn't have to stay. I'm a stranger. He pulled the chair closer and Saturday, you're not a stranger. Not anymore. The words wrapped around her like comfort. For the first time, someone had stayed, not out of duty but care. Thank you, she whispered, eyes glistening. You saved my life. Dapo shook his head. You did the hard part. I just drove. Silence settled between them, peaceful but full. The quiet hum of machines was the only witness to what neither of them could say aloud. Over the next few days, Chioma healed slowly. The hospital room became her small world, sterile but safe. Nurses came and went, offering smiles and prayers. Every morning, Dapo arrived, sometimes with fresh fruit, sometimes with akara and pap, sometimes just to sit silently by the window. He didn't ask questions. He didn't judge. He simply existed beside her pain until it became easier to breathe. One afternoon, as sunlight spilled across the floor, Chioma looked at him and whispered, "Why are you doing this for me?" He looked up from his cup of coffee. "Because someone should have." That's not an answer. He smiled faintly. Maybe not, but it's the truth. There was a sadness in his tone, a quiet ache she didn't understand yet. But when he stood to leave, he said only, "Rest. You're safe now." And for the first time since her world fell apart, she believed it. The day Chioma left the hospital, Lagos sky was clear again. No rain, no thunder, just soft sunlight and the smell of fresh earth. It felt like the world itself had been washed clean. Dapo was already waiting by the nurse's counter, car keys in hand, looking tired but calm. When Chioma saw him, her throat tightened. She didn't know how to thank him for nights he didn't sleep, and prayers he never said out loud. "You're ready?" he asked softly. She nodded, holding the small blanket that wrapped her newborn son. "As ready as I can be." He smiled faintly. "Then let's go home." Home. The word felt strange on her tongue, but she didn't correct him. The drive back to Okoye was quiet. Chioma kept glancing at the baby in her arms, amazed at how small and peaceful he looked. His skin was soft, his breaths light. When they reached the mansion, Auntie Beezy was waiting by the door, eyes shining. "Ah, thank God. You made it, oh. My dear, welcome back." Chioma smiled weakly as the woman reached for the baby. "He's fine," she said proudly. "He's strong." They stepped inside, and everything smelled the same. Fresh linen, polished wood, and faint coffee. But this time, the house didn't feel too big. It felt alive. Dapo followed quietly behind, hands in his pockets. "You'll stay here," he said. "You need rest. The doctor said no stress for now." "I can't impose." "You're not imposing," he interrupted gently. "You're recovering." He motioned toward the stairs. "Your room's ready. Auntie Beezy set up a crib beside your bed." Chioma blinked back tears. "I don't even know how to thank you." He smiled. "You don't have to." Upstairs, she stepped into the same beige-lit room she'd nearly died in weeks ago. But now, it carried a different energy, hope. The small crib beside the bed made her heart ache in the best way. As the baby stirred, Chioma sat beside him, her fingers trembling as she touched his tiny hands. "You're safe now, my son," she whispered. "God didn't forget us." Downstairs, Dapo stood by the window, watching sunlight fall across the compound. For the first time in years, the mansion didn't feel empty. It sounded like life again. And somewhere deep inside, he realized that maybe the storm hadn't brought her to him by accident. Maybe it had brought healing for them both. Days turned into quiet weeks inside Dapo's mansion. The city outside moved fast, cars, horns, and noise, but inside those walls, peace reigned. Chioma healed slowly. Her body grew stronger. Her laughter returned in soft fragments. She began helping Auntie Beezy with little chores, folding laundry, watering flowers, singing softly to her baby, whom she named Kamsi, meaning as God said. Every evening, Dapo came home from work with something new, a basket of fruit, a pack of baby wipes, sometimes just a gentle smile. He never pushed conversation, he just stayed present. But with every act of kindness, Chioma's curiosity grew. Who really was this man who had saved her from the rain and never asked for anything in return? One evening, as they sat in the garden, she finally asked, "Dapo, why are you doing this for me?" He looked up from his cup of tea. "Because someone should have." She frowned slightly. That's what you said before. But that's not an answer. He smiled faintly. Maybe not, but it's the truth. There was a sadness in his eyes, something he didn't say. Chioma noticed the way he paused before answering certain questions, the way his voice softened whenever she mentioned loss. A few days later, while returning from the nursery, she overheard two of the younger maids whispering near the hallway. Madame Chioma is lucky, one said. Imagine, from sleeping in the rain to living upstairs like a queen. The other replied. You think it's luck? A beg, she's his new woman, Jer. Rich men no just help for free. Chioma froze. Her chest tightened. She walked away quietly, pretending she hadn't heard. That night, while feeding Kamsi, her thoughts wouldn't stop spiraling. Was that what people thought? Was she becoming a burden? Or worse, a rumor? She didn't want pity. She wanted dignity. When Dapo came in to check on her, he noticed her silence immediately. Chioma, he said gently. Something's wrong. She shook her head. It's nothing. He studied her face but didn't press. Okay, just know you can talk to me. When he left, she whispered to her son, We'll find our own way soon. We can't stay forever. But even as she said it, her heart ached. Because deep down, she knew she was no longer just surviving in Dapo's home. She was starting to live again. And that frightened her more than anything else. The rains returned one evening, tapping gently against the windows like a memory that refused to fade. Chioma stood on the balcony, watching the clouds blur the city skyline. The soft drumming of the rain reminded her of the night. Everything changed. The night Dapo found her shivering on that lonely street. Downstairs, the faint hum of jazz music drifted from the sitting room. Dapo was there as always, reading quietly, lost in thought. He looked peaceful, but Chioma had learned that calmness often hid storms. When she finally joined him, he smiled. Couldn't sleep. She shook her head, sitting across from him. No, the rain brings back too much. He nodded slowly. It does that sometimes. They sat in silence for a while, listening to the rhythm of the storm. Then Chioma spoke softly. I overheard the staff the other day. They think I'm here because you want something from me. Dapo's expression changed, shock first, then quiet understanding. And what do you think? I don't know, she admitted, her voice trembling. You've done everything for me, but I don't even know who you really are. Why did you help me that night, Dapo? Really? He looked away, his jaw tightening. The rain grew louder. Because I owed your father, he said finally. Chioma blinked, confused. My father. He nodded. Years ago, when I was nothing, just a mechanic in Suralere, your father helped me. He paid for my business permit, gave me advice, treated me like a son. When he died, I swore that if I ever found his daughter, I'd make sure she never suffered. Tears filled her eyes. You knew my father? Yes, he said softly. And I failed him once. When he needed help, I was too late. Helping you was my way of keeping a promise. Chioma pressed a trembling hand to her mouth. All this time, I didn't tell you because I didn't want you to feel like charity, he continued, voice low. I wanted you to stand again, strong on your own. Her tears spilled freely now. You didn't fail him. You saved his daughter. You saved me. He smiled faintly, eyes glistening. Maybe God knew I needed saving too. The rain outside slowed to a drizzle. Chioma looked at him through tears and whispered, Thank you. He reached for her hand. No, Chioma, he said gently. Thank you for reminding me that storms don't only destroy. Sometimes they wash us clean. And as lightning flickered softly beyond the glass, both of them knew the storm that once broke them had finally brought them home. Ah, Bestie, that one touched deep, didn't it? Life really has a funny way of teaching us lessons through people we least expect. If you felt this story like I did, type part 2 in the comments, and we will tell you how Chioma took revenge on her ex-husband as the story just got juicy. Please like and subscribe. And don't forget, your bestie's got more stories coming your way, so hit subscribe and stay close.